Christians have come out in force in Hong Kong, singing hymns and using their faith to join millions of others protesting an extradition bill. That bill could allow Hong Kong authorities to send people to Mainland China for trial. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. Joining me is Cardinal Joseph Zen. He's going to talk a little bit about the extradition protests in Hong Kong. Thanks for joining me. I know you and many other religious leaders have come out very strongly against the extradition bill.
Yeah.
And many Christian groups have been very active in protesting it.
Yeah.
Why do you think Hong Kong's Christians have been so motivated to join these extradition bill protests?
Now, you see, in Hong Kong, the Christian religions had a very strong point in education. So we Catholics, we have more than 300 schools. That means we have 25% of the school population in our schools. We don't have university because the government was very exclusive. Okay. And so many people pass through our schools. And many influential people in Hong Kong are Christians.
Even Carrie says
yeah, she is also, yeah. Actually, she got baptized just shortly before coming back from Britain. And so they have influence in society. For example, the barristers, many Catholics, and also in the government, like Uncensored, he was the number 2 in the government. And so it should be natural that the Christians have a part. But the official church in Hong Kong have always been rather, how to say, traditional. That means reluctant to come out for any subject which can be called political. And still, some people have the prejudice that we should not join the politics. Now that's ridiculous because we had an ecumenical council in the 60s, and there in the official document said politics is part of life because politics means the things which belong to the society. So everybody should join, and so very clearly stated there. But still, you know, I'm really wonder why so many priests are still have such a resistance to go into the politics. Anyway, but people say under the British, you had such good relation with the government. Why now you always fight the government? You say it's not our choice. They are fighting us. And so we have to defend ourselves. And then we have to defend the freedom of people. They were very clever to promise one country, 2 systems. So we take their words seriously. But now they went back on their words. So now the situation is terrible, yeah. So this time it's more clear the participation of the church, yeah.
So you feel in many ways it's the duty of Hong Kong's Christians to come out and stand up.
Sure. We have to come out because you see we are responsible for the people. So they must see that our teaching about human rights. We believe in those values, you see, and so I don't think we can be neutral to all this. Unfortunately, the organization of the 6 religions is rather conservative. many times they try to say something which are neutral, impartial. Oh, now there is a division in the society. We hope everybody can be restrained and come to discuss and to rebuild harmony. That's a empty invitation, according to many, because the situation is really much worse than we can manage only with the goodwill.
So this ties in.
We have to fight.
Yeah. So this ties in very much to the situation Christians are also facing in mainland China.
Now, in mainland China, there is no religious freedom because there is no freedom. People cannot talk as they like. There's no freedom. Okay, now you say, they have solved the problem of poverty. Many people now. Okay, that may be true, but you cannot just feed the people. You are not running a farm. You are running a society of human beings. They have their hair, they have their conscience, but they are not allowed to say anything.
And Hong Kong Christians are concerned that could happen here in Hong Kong.
Yes, sure. So I think at this moment we may say it's the only thing which remains for us to be different from other cities of China. So now if they take away, with this legislation, anybody can be brought to China because they have only to present some so-called prima facie evidence. That means even fake evidences is enough. They can force the government to hand those people because the evidence have to be judged at their court, not here. Terrible. So many say it is worse than the so-called the Article 23.
The National Security Bill.
Because that is a law in Hong Kong. So the cases are to be judged in Hong Kong. But now, according to this legislation, the cases will be judged in China. Now you cannot trust.
At this point, do you think if the Hong Kong government withdraws the extradition bill, that will be enough?
I think now the urgent problem is to solve this issue about this extradition law. But I think given all what happened these days, we need much radical thinking about the actual situation because it's really bad. They have sown so much injustices. Now they are harvesting a disaster. And so I really hope it's not only about this law, which should be withdrawn. Otherwise, the people would not believe in what they say. That's the minimum they can do. And then the second thing is to have an independent commission to inquire about what really happened on the day 12th of June. And to know clearly the responsibility of the young people and of the police. And but then the whole thing happened because the whole system is wrong. Because we are feeling so much helplessness. You see this umbrella movement, or this Occupy Center movement. Now, we put so much effort, peaceful effort, to demand that they do what it is being promised in the basic law. To have to let us have a real democratic election, but we are not given. They are closing all the doors, and so we have to go back to that. So and then after that, they did so many things. We have just to bear. And so they disqualify some democratically elected legislators. And they bring to the court people who peacefully made some demands to the government. And we just accept all that peacefully. But at a certain moment, there's so much anger in the people. And we have to thank those three promoters of the Occupy Center movement, because they preached peace, non-violence all the time. I think the whole world should admire how we can have a march of 1 million and more than 1 million people with no incident at all. You see? And so really, they have to face their responsibility. They took advantage of our peaceful nature. Yeah, I think in this moment we are very much worried that the young people may not be able to be so patient. And so the government is provoking them to violence. And the police, we don't recognize those police as Hong Kong police. Terrible. They look like the public security in China. It's incredible.
So you've been a religious leader your entire...
I am a retired bishop. But you see, because what we are doing is according to the teaching of the church. Now the bishops, they have a retirement for the office, but not from the duty of preaching the doctrine of the church. So I have still the duty to preach the doctrine of the church. I think what they are trying to do is against the human rights, against teaching of the church.
And your religion, your faith, is what motivates you to stand up to this.
Sure, yeah. Actually, the human rights belong to human beings. It's not exclusive to believers. But then we have also a church who helps us to see clearly such doctrine. Yeah. And especially the recent popes. We have so many wonderful documents of the church, encyclicals, teaching about human rights.
And so as somebody who has been a religious leader for so many years, what advice would you give to people standing up to tyranny, both Christian and non-Christian alike?
I think it's a duty for people who are so privileged to know very clearly this doctrine about human nature, about the human rights, about how the society should be run, what is the authority, what are the duties of those in authority. And so we must share our knowledge, our conviction, our values with the people who are less privileged. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.